What's up, guys? This is Justin Davis, executive editor of IGN Wireless, and I'm joined by IGN's brand new tech guru, Nick Vargas. Nick, it is the most wonderful time of the year. Do you know why that is?
We're pretty close to Christmas, probably.
That's actually not true at all. It is actually WWDC, which is Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. They had their keynote presentation yesterday, and they had three major things that they were talking about. And the first one that seems to be getting the most buzz is the brand new, sort of high-end, top-of-the-line MacBook Pro. What's the scoop on this thing, Nick?
Well, so this was something I didn't really expect to even happen in the first place. There was lots of rumors leading up to it, but then they showed the 15-inch MacBook Pro got this sort of spec bump that was nothing really fancy, and then they showed the veiled, whatever the new thing they needed to make room for was.
Yeah.
And so then I kind of knew, like, this is this Retina display that we've been seeing come on the iPads and iPhones and stuff. And what that means is wherever you hold that in relation to your face, you don't see pixels. That would be insane. Like, it seems insane that they just did this, but they put it on a 15.4-inch MacBook Pro. And not only that, but they took out the optical drive and they made this thing 0.71 inches. It's almost as small as a MacBook Air.
Yeah, it starts at $2,100. It can be configured up much higher than that if you want a bigger hard drive or more RAM, as our news editor, Andrew Goldfarb, will tell you. He just dropped a pretty penny on one of these things. The second big piece of news out of the show was the improvements to the new Mountain Lion update. You know, Apple's new desktop OS is getting refreshed. And that news didn't seem quite as exciting to me, but the big thing that was exciting to me about that was the price tag.
Right. At $19.99 coming in July, that just seems like the price is right. Probably the best feature that I can think of for Mountain Lion is this AirPlay Mirroring, which will allow you to mirror your computer display on your TV with an Apple TV. And those are so cheap too at $99 that it seems really likely that that's something that a lot of people will do.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been this big problem where you have this content on your computer, you want it on your HD TV, and that's always been something that's been a little bit too complicated to do for what should be something very simple. So AirPlay, hopefully people take advantage of this, and you know, if people have Apple TVs, it'll be awesome. The last major piece of news out of the show was iOS 6. So they updated their desktop OS and they're updating their mobile OS. And iOS 6 has a little bit more, you know, exciting features. I think it's maybe a little bit cooler than what's coming to the desktop stuff.
Right.
But what were really the highlights coming from iOS 6 for you?
You know, they ditched Google Maps, and that's obviously like the biggest news because they had the audacity to do that in the first place. And you know, Justin, you were at the show. Was it as impressive as it looked?
Yeah, I mean, the new Apple Maps has some very, very cool bells and whistles. They have this new flyover mode where you can get 3D models of different cities and sort of rotate it around. They gave an example in San Francisco where they were like sort of flying through a virtual downtown San Francisco. That's cool. I don't know how practical it is. More practical is the turn-by-turn navigation. You know, they're definitely putting companies like Garmin on notice. You know, if you have free turn-by-turn navigation powered by Siri in your phone, you know, I don't know. I think that's a very, very strong sort of feature add. So one other very cool thing that jumped out at me at the conference yesterday was the new Passbook app. There's all these standalone apps right now that let you have movie tickets from Fandango or boarding passes or gift cards. And this takes them all and puts them in one place for you. And sort of anytime you go into a Starbucks, it sort of surfaces this, and then you can use this, you know, without having to sort of dive into an individual app. I thought this was very cool.
Definitely, and I think that just the fact that they're committed to this means that we might see NFC on the next iPhone.
Yeah, definitely. And so what is NFC? If you, I'm very dumb and I don't know what that means.
It stands for Near Field Communication. And what that means is that you can literally swipe your phone and pay for your things. This could be the future of wallets as we know it, and we've seen it on a couple Android phones, and I think iPhone is due for its time.
One thing that we actually didn't see at this conference was any mention of new hardware on the iPhone. You know, that's probably going to come in a few months. But we also didn't see, you know, every computer line that Apple has was updated except for the iMacs, oddly. They were just left alone.
Right. And it's kind of hard to understand why exactly, because they are old. I think it's been 406 days since we've seen a refresh.
Yeah, there's not a chance that you looked that up before walking
I was
in
just
here.
guessing, pretty much. But yeah, so the Mac Pros also did get an update, but they didn't get called out during the presentation at all.
So with Apple, I mean, you never really know. You did this prediction piece, you know, before the show, and it was really spot on, but you don't really ever know, you know, so they gave a lot of attention to the notebooks, talked about that refresh for a long time. But the Mac Pros were updated and they didn't even mention it.
Right.
And then the iMacs were not even updated at all. So with Apple, you know, you never really know exactly what you're gonna get.
Definitely.
but we will probably see an iMac refresh soon, unless, you know, there's a chance that they're cooking up something bigger with that line. So lots of very, very cool Apple hardware and software news coming out of WWDC this week. IGN already has a lot of coverage of all this online, but we're gonna have more as the week progresses, so be sure to keep it locked to IGN.com.